but it doesn't look like he's gonna miss the jump, right? Or am I crazy? It's not that clear. It's a good direction to go in, so it's really smart, really clean. But blinding love and putting the woman with the blindfold, it's too literal. Really simple and it works. Also the close-ups, the distress, oh my god, really cool. What's good? What I'm gonna do is just point you in some directions. So this is design fundamentals, right? I've been doing design for a lot. I had a lot of flaws, but I know the fundamentals, you know? And I'm gonna try to share with you just some thoughts. This is one of my teachers was saying, right? When you get to a round of feedback, like what you do is what you do. It doesn't mean, if I criticize your work, it doesn't mean that it's bad. For the context of design as an overarching thing, there are things that could be improved, but it has happened, for example, in university, that one teacher is really harsh with the work, and then the work gets published. For example, it gets called on an editorial for being published in another country. You know, it has happened in my university. Some maybe projects that have had a bad grade, and then they were published in a design book in Japan because the design criteria is different. So don't take it as its final word. You know, what we're trying to do here is trying to become more efficient communicators, trying to bridge more the gap on what is design and what it's art, which is a thing that I think gets really conflated and it gets really messy, right? So I'm gonna try to just point you in some directions that I feel the work can improve. Yeah, it's like that. Don't take it too hard. If you feel like, oh, you really like the piece and now I'm saying X or Y about it, it's not that big of a deal. You do the works that you like to do, and that's that at the end of it, you know? So let me get into the first pieces. It's easy to make something that looks cool. Composition, it's fairly easy when you get the hang of it and you get the composition. Here, for example, this is one of the first that I started to see. Hello, this is my day one poster. Didn't stick to the brief properly, but I looked at some inspiration from it. The word inception and the water bottle made me think of being stuck underwater, and then developed my own concept around them. This one I like because it took the word, and one thing that I see a lot of you do, I do this too sometimes if I'm feeling tired or mentally lazy, let's say, you don't need to put the words in the posters, right? And then design around it. It's sort of to kickstart your thinking and see where you can take it. Here I can see the inception and the water bottle, the juxtaposing of the images of the dude with the bowl of water and the fishes. It gives you a feeling also, like he's sort of ingrained with the woman. It's super simple image, but it conveys an emotion, and you see it and you go, oh, what is trying to say? It's such a simple thing. It doesn't have to be this overly designed thing, you know? Okay, here for example, inception, okay, I see it. Composition, it's good. My dude has sort of know what he's doing, right? But I don't know what he means by this. Yeah, piece works amazing because I don't know the concept. There is nothing much that I can add to it other than, yeah, it looks fucking cool, you know? First poster ever. At least she's getting some sort of a hierarchy of, for example, I need to look at this first and at this. For example, here this shadow, it's sort of, it's bothering. It's not adding anything. Also the texture. If you take everything away and you leave only this illustration and the belong, it already works because, okay, it's trying to tell me something with that, but I don't see how the other stuff adding to the message or to the piece really, other than that hierarchically and adding like depth to the piece, that it's okay. It's nothing wrong with it. This guy, I don't know if he's in the chat, but I really like the work of this dude. There is something about the piece. It's really intentional, you know, in design. The most important thing is don't make half-assed decisions. When you make something and you put a text somewhere or an image somewhere, make it like it looks intentional. If you put one color and another to contrast it, make it intentional. You make the contrast, the brain works. You need to make it easy for the brain to see the patterns, right? When you took a decision in one of your pieces that looks intentional, that it's easy for the brain to analyze it and to say, oh, okay, there is a decision, and you'll feel more drawn to that piece, you know? Clear hierarchies and clear contrast and clear shapes, you know? But for example, in this piece that my guy made, was for the day about the post-its, right? And he didn't write post-it, right? Post-it was the inspiration, and then the lost ideas, remember me, and how it's repetitive, and then it gets remember me, and then the me on the bottom without the remember, like it gets some nice repetition. I feel like this is really simple and really, yeah, like really loud in your face, but it's not overly telling you the concept of the piece. Inception here, this one is really on your nose, Inception, and I'm putting the things that I see in the movie. It's classic, nothing wrong with it. The hierarchies are good. I like this in the middle and this one red that is sort of breaking the line. Maybe that this red creates some more impact. I feel it's not disrupting the image enough. If you could make it, I don't know how, maybe there are several reds of this red light, for example, goes into a spiral that wraps the entire thing. I don't know, but you have something here, but it's kind of shying away, you know. This one, let's see if there was a concept. Inception is very fitting for this piece, considering its fears of many posters to come, to start of a month's longer endeavor, experiment with linear details. Okay, but what do the linear details sort of imply, right? Because I see it in terms of like hierarchy. I think it looks cool. It could be better integrated, let's say. You could work better with the empty space like this. Try to grid your work a bit more. And maybe he could frame a bit the piece better and integrate the things like here. Maybe this white is getting lost with the background. Integrate it better with the rest of the piece through a grid or something that's a bit harder, you know what I mean? And also, for example, here I feel like this sort of map can have sort of a connection to this Inception thing. So maybe if you put the guy in the middle and this topographic map, you put it in over the head, sort of implying like the topography of his thinking, of his ideas. Maybe you try to highlight it in some way. Then you are juxtaposing images and trying to say something, you know. When you see something, the one with the dude with the bald fish in his head, what does it mean? And you can sort of feel the emotion of him with the woman, you know. Then it creates like a click and you say like, oh, what does my guy mean, you know? Here is sort of disconnected, but I see that you are trying to do something here. I can appreciate that. This is the first time I'm making posters. I'm participating in something like this. For me, everything is really hard because I feel right now I'm just experimenting all the time. That's perfectly fine, my guys. This is an extra. If you feel like it or if you don't, you don't. I'm not gonna give you an A+ or whatever, you know. It's just some ideas to tinker around in your head when you're designing. If you feel like pushing a bit more, then you can try to just to think about this and see what you can come up with while you design. In some of the ones that I made, I tried to go a bit to push myself a bit more, but not always killing myself. Like there were a few that I made that were pretty lazy, you know. Here's mine for tonight. Inspiration, obviously. Take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes matrix. Basically, I tried to create an oval shape that represents the pill and simultaneously some sort of wormhole, a rabbit hole. Red colors for red pill. This is for me today. Obviously, he has a grasp of design already, but trying to represent the pill with something that looks like a pill, it's sort of, you can do better, I feel. Other than that, I feel that it's competing too much, the pill with rabbit hole. Pick one and make it the clear winner, you know. I had this teacher that said this really important thing for developing a piece or a poster. Make sure your pieces scream, talk to you, and whisper to you, right? You make a poster, is the scream. What's the poster about? That needs to be screaming, needs to be clear. That's the main focus. Then the poster talks to you by telling you some underlying information, and then the poster whispers to you by telling you like the details, and there you add like the final touches, right? This I feel it's really dry, but it looks cool, and yeah, but communicative, I feel like you can do better for sure. This one I saw it was cool because you can see there is a decision in this one of making the thing split in two and the color red. Here's my poster for today, inspired by the Matrix, prompt but with a twist. I took the movie's red and blue pill premise and applied it to my favorite film. The plot revolves around the girl's internal conflict about her sexuality and her place in the Orthodox Jewish community. In terms of the poster, I attempted to defy graphic design conventions by playing on the film's title, Disobedience, and you could say it was almost disobedient with my work and did not follow the rules. It's not that disobedient. Like, disobedient was the other ones that I showed you from the other dude. The other part, I think you nailed it. The play with the colors, right? I can see the dichotomy. The disobedience in today's standards in design, more in the spectrum that we inhabit, for example, on Instagram, and we trying to upload bullshit every day, and it's already breaking the rules in some parts of typographic rules, composition rules, whatever. But I feel like you nailed it in the color thing. I really like how you took the inspiration and tried to make something like with intention. That's really cool. But I think if you could try to redo this and make it really anti-design, you know, really like super. I wouldn't even know how to do it because I've tried to make anti-design stuff, but when the style you have and the things you know have been already so intertwined with the way you work, it's like once you know how to draw, it's really hard to make a bad drawing. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking whatever. In this poster, I've combined an image of a blindfolded woman that depicts that she's in love and hence is blind. Composition is good. I really like how you split the image, right? You have a clear image that I'm drawn to, then I like the composition on the side, right? That's perfect. You 10. But blind in love and putting the woman with the blindfold, it's too literal. One thing that you can do is, for example, you could put the woman. Let me try something. You can have the woman, but maybe you don't need to do this this blindfold thing. So let's do this only black. Here you can put, I have a bunch of images, let's grab anything. For example, something like this. I'm gonna do this really quick. This is really rough, but for example, here, and you can see I made the image of the dude in red as well as the love, so you are linking here, okay, he loves this dude or whatever, and the image of the dude is obstructing her eyes, right? So this is a way a bit more elegant that you can say, okay, she's blind, and at the same time you're trying to communicate in something else, right? And you don't make it so literal, you know? The concept movement, I wanted to make a dynamic poster in most of the film scenes to pay homage to the great Christopher Nolan. This one I really like because it's making the thing that the movie does, but it's doing it in a graphic way to the text. This is a way that you could do it typographically and make sense with the film. Here you can obviously make better like the spacing between the letters and all of that. That can be adjusted. It's not perfect, but the general feel and the general idea that you had, I think it's well, and it's a good direction to go in. So it's really smart, really clean. It doesn't need much else. You can edit it later if you do it well. You can do it, but as it is, I think it's good. I was already working before I found the event rule. My trigger was perception, because I wasn't in the mood of designing something, but okay, he showed up to do the work. Here, perception, put in the eye, literally what we perceive with. So try to don't go very semantic with your words, right? If you try to say something is hot, don't paint the poster with fire. If you try to say something is very hard, don't put a texture of rock to it, right? That's really being overly semantic with your design, and put it the characteristics of what you mean. For example, put in the word dog and making a tail with ears, you know, it's too literal and too on the nose. Like what I'm telling you is pointers that for you to try and try to think while you're designing. I've seen people sell t-shirts that say I love my dog with ears, and those t-shirts sell on Amazon for print on demand, and they're probably rich. But I'm trying to tell you another thing design wise, so you can make those reps, you know, trying to make something more of the designs you make. Take the red pill and showing the hand with the red pill. Let's get it, you know. Here, I think he might have something, but the word is actually, let me try this. I feel this can work. Okay, he's talking about immersion, right? But he literally put it under the ocean, literally put it underwater. Maybe not underwater. Let me grab my assets real quick. We had something like this. It doesn't matter. It's just for a proof of the concept, you know. Where is my gradient map? Here. Something like this, let's say, you know, you could work on this better. But for example, let's say you want to talk about immersion and you have a clear here row of text or something here to draw the eye to, and then the text is sort of pulling back, and maybe you have some images here and you try to, or something that really pulls the composition down, and you can have this sort of thing like immersion, but in a way that you don't have to be super literal about it, you know? This could be a way of making the composition like sort of drown. Or you could literally drown the composition and make it like really busy and really covered up with no air with between the characters to breathe. And that could be a way of you make literally the poster is drowning, you know? This was mine for the Inception. This one I really like how it turned out. I think it works really well. It doesn't show the things from the movie, and it really gives you like this feeling of going inside in levels each time more thin, and you have this nugget of important information. So this one I think worked really well. This one I really liked because it's sort of funny. It's so on the nose that it's funny. It's obviously doing it to be funny, I hope. Yeah, you see, my guy thought most of us were going to go with Inception or The Matrix, so he went the other way. He did a water bottle, water with the model, classic. This one, again, pretty on the nose with the rotating thing, but the texture that he gave it, it has something. There is a language there of being so in the middle, like it's a super engraved thing, like in a matrix of layers. Here, I think it can work. If you took out this metal thing, I don't know how it's called, you take it down and you put like a red circle or a star or whatever, like it could work also, and without being so much the little thing. In this one, it's super simple, two on the nose, like showing you the buildings that fall apart like in Inception, but the poster is giving you a feeling, right? Nothing here like sort of catching the guy, like feel like you're falling. Like it's simple and it works. It's good. Again, with the vertigo, try to combine the feeling of dizziness and distortions with the vibe of the song. Quite happy with the results. I don't know the band, I don't know the song. I don't get that much of a vibrational feel or more. I get with the lines. Yeah, I don't know. I like the piece. I don't get the feeling that much, but it looks cool. Vertigo, 2 on the nose again, 2 on the nose, the vertigo, literally showing vertigo through the feeling of the buildings. I feel it's 2 on the nose, but there is something, of course, he's trying, it's good. This one I liked for vertigo. I didn't like what came out that much, but after 2 months of not designing for fun, it turned out great. The distortion, I don't know, like the feeling of the piece, like being really gritty and really like, I don't know, I can like a head here, right, with the head and the spirals. It's not just any staircase. The spirals sort of something like descending into madness, something like that. I don't know, maybe I'm projecting too much into the design, but that's also designed to let the people that are gonna see it make it as much as their own as you design it. That's also a key thing on design. Once you put a thing out there, it's really also open to interpretation, you know. This was horrendous. I don't like it. Each time I see it, I like it less. Fuck this. Who is this? Design syndrome? No, I hate this guy. Pain of growth. I like it. Like the composition is cool. Maybe here the piece is falling a bit. Maybe I need something here to frame the piece better. I feel like it's hanging too much from the top part. It's a bit unbalanced, but it works. I'm just being really nitpicky about it, but it works. I get that for the contrast. I don't know if it's the heat map or whatever, but I get that pain feel, you know, and also this thing that sort of projecting. It's giving me growth vibes, you know, and also this texture here. Approved, my guy. Society of the Spectacle, my guy. Also went with the retrofuturistic. I don't know about the concept, but for sure the piece it's striking. Like you see it and you feel like it's trying to say something, which is respectable in its own right, and it looks cool. I don't know about the concept that much, but there is something here. I can't really say. That's such a professor of design to say, like, there is something here. There is something here. The poster is cool, but it looks like a cover of a self-help book. I don't know. He tried to portray it was impossible to get to the other side. Having someone attempt to jump across the skyscrapers and thinking it looked like he's going to miss the jump, but it doesn't look like he's gonna miss the jump, right? Or am I crazy? It's not that clear. When you gonna make it look like he's not gonna make it, it needs to be clear that he's not gonna make it. Here, it for me looks like if he could make it, then it's not clear enough. Let's just try it. Something like this. Yeah, I don't know. It sort of lost the power. You could make it better, I feel like. Let me try something. I really like the composition was better before, but here, for example, you sort of see like he's really not gonna make it, and maybe the word is really obscure, you know, like who really knows there is not many people that know the meaning of this word. That's also when I say you don't need to put exactly the word. Maybe it's futile, like I try to make, or you put another word that really close the concept, you know, and make it apparent, and make it, oh, that's what he's trying to say, or makes you go like, what's he trying to say? There are things that caught your attention because they are clear, and there are things that caught your attention because you can see a pattern and you see like, what is he trying to say here, you know? There are those pieces that get you like to think. But yeah, I really liked the piece, but I felt like it wasn't like super clear. He wanted to tell you that he's not gonna make it. I don't like how much what I did, but it's just to show. Yeah, more contrast would have helped for sure. Contrast is everything. Like in design, contrast is everything. Things that are big look bigger when you put things that are small on the side. Here, for example, you see the contrast. Super huge piece with a really small thing in the middle, really minimalistic, but really makes you go like, oh, this must be important, you know? Like I remember one of the classes that I went, it showed us these really old like books on, let me see if I can find it. For example, stuff like this. Back then, to make the paper for this sort of books was really, not everybody had some parchment like lying around, was really expensive to make. So to give this, why wouldn't you put text all over the sheet if it was so hard to make, right? To get advantage of every piece of paper that you could. But actually to have these big margins and give it that much space to breathe means that what's written there must be important if you can spare with all that paper, you know? This is a more practical way, but it also applies to composition, you know? If you make such a big space for this tiny thing, it means that it's important. This one I really liked for Vertigo. This was a movie, I think, the Vertigo movie. I think this is really reminiscent of the original poster, but I really like the feeling of Vertigo. It's skewed to the side, you know? It's not in the middle, giving you like this flow, and also in composition terms, like to get asymmetrical, it's a way to put you off balance, you know? I think it's better to show Vertigo breaking the line and not making like symmetrical. This one again, it's the eye, but the clear reflection of the sky. What is she trying to say there, you know? It's not just an eye. Don't just put an image of one thing. Always put it into context with play with another thing, so you try to make the two elements play and see if they bring something to the table in terms of what you're trying to communicate. So far with with our current tools. One day will be unveiled. It is truly infinite. Okay, I really like the composition. I really even. I like the assets that he used. I see there all the planets are like sort of placed on top of something. It's not really catching my eyes when I scroll, but if you look at it, you can see that it's trying to tell something. Like this shit like goes like an infinite backdrop. I like it. I like it, but I think it could use a bit more impact, you know, but it's cool. It's cool. Vertigo and the dude looking over the edge. Let's go, my guy. Sometimes with things like this, if you flip the image, it's a really clear like gesture that you just made. It's a really simple operation and makes you go, what is he trying to say, you know, when you flip an image? This one I really like. Super simple, super straightforward, clear sensation also with the eyes on the backdrop and the texture of the face like going in. Like it gives you a feeling. You can say maybe it's not vertigo or whatever, but it's trying to say something. That's also another thing. Sometimes we are designing, let's see, maybe if that poster were hanged on a wall in your home or whatever, and someone walked into the room, he would see the piece and he would be forced to look at it, and then it will be well designed because in that context you have the time to look at the piece. But sometimes when we are designing for social media or whatever, where everybody's doing this, like the pieces need to be more synthetic and need to be on the nose or more powerful to stop the scroll, you know. That's why for something, I don't know if you've noticed in some of the posters that I've made, I make first a slide with a phrase. I make a first slide with a really catchy phrase or with something that would caught your eye, and then I put the poster in the second slide because I don't like to design posters that are really synthetic and really like some super simple, right? I like to go to make really intricate pieces or whatever. Think about the context of where your pieces are gonna be displayed and design for that, right? You can make it work any way you want, but you need to think about it. You can just make a piece and post it and say, oh, it doesn't work, and say my work is shit. Maybe the thought process was shit, but it doesn't mean your work is shit. Maybe you haven't thought about it as much, and maybe it's why it's not clicking. I felt the Sonder concept was about realizing that everybody's going through something, just like you, having a human experience, but the point of it was to make them feel all unique. But I guess if they're all unique, they're all the same. I don't know. I felt like this is sort of a matrix. We're all the same, muted, everyone the same, but I feel like a lot of you did this. Everybody is this gray same thing. I was hoping for something more like this. Everybody is different and is thinking of different things. Like we are one. Here, for example, the we are one, I think it contradicts a bit the thing of being all different, right? This one again, knife. I checked, it hurts the most. Okay, it's knife, it's inspiration, but she went a little silly with it. Professors are sketchy dudes, you know? It really depends. I had the blessing that my professors were top-notch, you know? Like everyone. But that's also one of the things that really motivated me to do this, because if it's sort of, I feel it's sort of a responsibility. If I know these things and I feel like I could help someone, whatever, right? I'm not great. I can't teach you to be great because you only can do that. Because in order to achieve greatness, you need to achieve your own flavor of greatness, you know? You can't learn to be great in the way others are great, right? But what I can teach you is to not be fucking, like, to not suck, right? I can teach you to not suck. Here, composition is super powerful. I really like it. It lacks contrast, but I like the composition. And also I kind of like, let's see what he tried to do here. Thought of the man riding the scooter best represented the small glimpse to get into someone's daily routine. It's like when you're on a window and you look at someone. Have you ever happened this to you? Like you're on a balcony or whatever, and you look at one particular person and you try to think, oh, this dude life, what did he do today? You know, like that kind of moment. I can fuck with that moment. Really open-ended. It's nice. Can't help but notice. This one I really liked also. The super burnt image. This thing like got hit with huge epiphany moment. Super simple. You see, he didn't use the word here. He didn't, well, all Sonder on me, you know. Can't help but notice, and he closing his eyes. I don't know. This one's really cool, and it's really album art thing, you know. Here, what was the trigger? Sonder. Really little words. It's all images that have a treatment that try to portray an emotion, you know. The eye and this sort of radar thing that's sort of engulfing in this figure and this breakdown of the different layers of the body. This one I really liked, like the teeth, like the close-up of the teeth, the typography, the colors, like it gives you a feeling, right? This is cool, simple, you know? It's a really simple treatment to the image, the chopping of the things, the stretching, really simple and it works. Also the close-ups, the distress, oh my god. Really cool. Again, this one with the sonder, it has these circles that I haven't seen them. I think they lack contrast, but maybe if everyone had a different shape, what are you trying to say? Everyone with the same shape is like they are thinking of the same thing, or what does it mean? Like I see a pattern of they're all the same here, and I think the idea was to portray them as different. You just realize that they are all different. It looks cool. Again, this one I liked. You see this and you go, okay, maybe it's too on the nose what he's trying to say, but the composition is good. Poster screaming, poster is talking, poster is whispering, you know how it is, and it works. This one, I loved this one because it's like the reflection and she's seeing and she sees herself maybe as an old lady and the old lady sees her. You see what I mean, right? Maybe I'm putting my own understanding, but the super clear, super easy play that she made here with the images works. This one I liked. Again, it's pretty monochromatic. It has this blood accent. It could be all black and white without this stain of blood. But all like the different vibrations of the different people is trying to say something there. This one you see, it's ignorance, it's bliss, and her head is all covered like in wrap sheet. It's all wrapped. It has the butterflies. It's a bit more stylistic, but it's the same concept as the folding in the eyes. Hi guys, it's my day, ignorance, bliss poster. When I was brainstorming, so I decided to pay tribute to Cypher. I was thinking about putting dialogues beside Cypher. Here, maybe I'm reading too much into the piece, but I like the super high contrast. You don't see what's around them, and that sort of can convey the idea of ignorance. You can only see so far, you know? I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it myself, but I like it. It's good composition. Complex simplicity. Really super minimalistic. The composition is pretty on point. I don't know what's the grid, but this field with her eyes and the fire, like super elegant, super good. Actually, with mine, I was really struggling with the intense focus thing, and I ended up doing like this sort of logo to convey the emotion of being super focused, super laser, hyper productive, you know, in this kind of Evangelion-esque aesthetic logo. She did a poem. Let's read it real quick. Ignorance is bliss. In the tender gaze of youth's embrace, where wonder dwells and dreams take place. Ignorance is bliss. In whispers true, a timeless truth, forever in view, knowing not what he'll become, forever worry, forever apart. That is why we should retake our human heart and run away. By Maria. Really nice to see someone try something other than the poster thing, you know? Quick comment on this one. This dude was bitten by a dog and he wanted to make a poster. Cuidado con el perro muerde. I like it, but it would have been so funny if you made a poster like a dog biting a hand and it says, today I got bit by a dog. And it would, I don't know, it would be so funny, I feel like. I have no context, but it's funny that you got bit by a dog. This one I liked, this sustained focus, because it's almost like a statue, you know? He went frozen solid, looking, being concentrated. Really simple, the use of the statue. I don't know if it's a statue because of the texture, but I get that feeling. I like it. Sustained focus, this one I also liked. Simple image, but you get that compositional tension, that tension with the arm, like touching the water and creating this wave. I think the image works. The composition I think is kind of sketchy, you know, it could have done better, but it works. I like it. I like the image with the concept. But again, it suffers from the same thing. You don't need to put sustained focus. Like maybe you could have placed another word or another something and make it even more powerful. This one, the poster is good. The composition is solid. I like it. But Shoshin is supposed to be like a playful mindset. You're not set, you're discovering, right? And the monk, it's sitting there in the middle. The composition is pretty triangular, like triangular shapes are meant to convey super stability and hierarchy and order, right? And this shape is going against the concept, you know? It's too solid, he's too grounded, I feel. But the composition is cool, it looks amazing. This one really beautiful piece, but I've seen this before, you know? The composition is really clean. Maybe it's not breathing too much. If you could make the piece breathe, like give the parts of the image room to breathe, could make more graphic sense, but it looks cool, it looks super beautiful. If I had to make a design correction, I would say maybe try portraying like the breathing within the piece itself with more space. Momentum was hard also. Mine I liked, my momentum piece, but there was one that was better than mine. I really liked doing this. The process I really enjoyed. This one for momentum I really liked because it has this increasing the vectors of the image. Like you have this sector and then this sector gets split in half here and then one long, and it has like a rhythm, the piece. It makes you go like clack, 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 you know? It gives you that momentum feel. You increase in speed. I like it. There is an intention in the cutting of the word and the contrast of the hierarchy of the segments. This one is really cool. You see this direction, the composition is well developed, and you have like this motion of going into the middle, but also these are like dials that rotate separately. Like it creates a pattern that seems like means something. Okay, my guys, we're done. Hopefully you learned something. Thank you for showing up and making the pieces. Let's keep this rolling, you know. See you next Friday. We're gonna do this again. See you later, my guys. Fuck peace. Wish you conflict. Shit.